Good morning.
Morning, you're there.
I am. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Are you on the East Coast?
No, I'm on the West Coast.
Ah,
Wait,
and you agreed to this.
of course, I wake up early, so it's okay.
Okay.
I'm an early riser.
Katrina's on the West Coast too, so she must have not known that you were on the West Coast. That's funny.
I actually wake up at like 3 in the morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because
Why?
I work. Personally, I do a lot of personal work, but then I also work
Yeah,
with our Russian developers in Russia.
got it.
So then
Yeah.
I sync up with them and so forth. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do that like a couple of times a week because I can't sleep because because I have so much to do. And then I'm like,
I'm
oh, stop fighting it. Just get up and be productive.
sure if you're running a business, like it's pretty crazy.
Right, exactly. Like, who has time for sleep? Oh, man. All right, so is it Khon?
Yes, Khon.
Okay, Khon. All right, so tell me, what's going on?
Yeah, so when I watched Gary's video, like I think you were the one I resonated with the most.
Okay,
Because you were also in tech, and like you made the transition from being an employee to starting your own business. Um,
right.
and I think for me, like, so I've been in tech for about 9 years now. Um,
Okay.
and for those 9 years, I was so just obsessed with coding. Like I just spent all my time coding, doing doing front end work, back end work, doing mobile, doing Android, doing iOS. Like I think I was pretty like it got to a point where I spent so much time coding that I just didn't go out as much with my friends, and I just stopped going out.
Yeah,
Because then, like, my whole goal from the beginning was I was thinking, like, with tech, I feel like if I focus on doing that, then in the future, if I wanted to go into business, I can apply those skills to go towards business. Um,
mm-hmm.
so it has been my goal from the beginning. Um, so that at this point, I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable with my skill, and I can work with other developers, and I can delegate and so forth. But I'm like, man, like, how do I make this jump from this transition from like an employee to starting a company? So then I was curious
Right.
what your process was like. How did you decide, like, what happened, or what
Yeah.
the process was like?
So it's funny in my experience, it's either, so there are people who are like super planners, and then there are people who are super opposite of like risk averse, and I happen to be the latter. So I usually take action and never really turn around to look to see how far or wide I've jumped. I just jump when I feel compelled enough to do it, either by pain or by virtue, right? And I think, like you, I always knew I wanted to start my own company. So I felt like I needed to learn some structure or other things. And so I think I stayed at these companies way longer than I needed to, because in the end, and in hindsight, I wasn't really learning much more than how to play the game of politics, which is something I wasn't interested in doing anyway, right?
Right.
So, once I made the decision, so first I think I started doing some freelance work, like on the side, right? For companies that were not presenting a conflict to my employer at the time. So, I was at a large company, and it was smaller companies who were asking me for help. And so, they weren't really competitors, because it was like, a $19 billion company versus like a couple $100,000 company.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had numerous former employers who would come back to me when they were in between contracts people and say, hey, can you help us out, on a project basis? And so at that point, I might either just do it, or sometimes I even would go to my current employer and say, hey, do you mind my former employer is asking me for some help on the side, it won't encroach on my, hours here. I'll do it, at night on the weekends. And they would say, okay. So I already knew that there was a market for me to be able to do this. And so when I felt like I was in the position financially to do it, and, I don't know if at this point I had 3 kids and was married, right? So, well, I feel like all the way the point, because I got married and quickly had 3 kids by like 25. So, that was always a consideration. And my husband and I were like still in school and pursuing, our graduate degrees. And I just got to a point where the pain at work was too much and I couldn't take it anymore. And so I was like, well, if the whole point of this is to like be happy, which is life, and to learn, which is something super important to me, then I got to get out of here, because neither is happening. And so I really just like I had several sponsors at that company that I was with last, who, liked me and would give me advice on, how to play the game and what I should be doing, and, really cared kind of about my future. And so I started with them, and just kind of taking their temperature on, if I quit, could I come back as a consultant, or, if I started a company, what should I sell, that kind of thing. And I started just kind of planting seeds and taking temperatures of people that I trusted. And, the consensus was good. And so I basically just went to, the VP I was supporting at the time and said, this is what I'm doing. And I think he actually asked me to stay or to come back as a consultant, because I was working on a project previously, and it was taking up all my time, and they didn't want the new person to be stretched like that. So they figured I could stay on the project, and the new person replacing me could be doing, the typical day-to-day things. And I think a lot of people just don't take they say no for the other person, right? They don't take the time to put the feelers out and ask people like, hey, I'm interested in starting a company. Would you work with me? Is there a place where I could come back as a consultant, or could you help build me up, because I've given my time and, sweat equity to this company, and I would love to continue to work with you. If that's the case, right? Like if you like the company you're working for, and you like the people and you like what they're doing, then, and you're really going to leave, there's no harm, no foul for you to kind of ask if you could continue to support them in some capacity. Most companies, whether they're selling to the federal government or in the commercial space, have, some internal compliance, or policy that they follow that says that they have to work with, a certain number of small businesses that, are minorities. And so obviously you would qualify for that. So they might as well like work with somebody who already knows their systems and practices and the people. It's kind of a win-win, but I think a lot of people just don't know that that's an option to ask. And then if that isn't an option for you, like you don't want to work with them, or, for whatever reason, then I think it's just about you starting to, again, talk to people quietly that you trust, and letting people know that this is something that you are interested in doing, and have a date, in mind of when you're going to make the transition, and just start putting it out in the universe, right? So you could be attracting that energy back. And something will pop. But obviously the better thing would be to have some business secured before you transition. But if you're in a financial position where you can transition without that, then hey, why not, right? Because then you can put all your energy towards actually building the new company, and not have your kind of attention split.
That's interesting. So I never thought about that. So I think you were saying that your current employer at the time, you asked them to be a client. So you transitioned from an employee to a contractor with the same company. Is that what you did?
Correct. Yeah. So on Friday, I was my last day as an employee, and the next Monday, I walked in as a contractor, as a vendor. Yep.
I never thought about that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, Khon, especially like you know, I don't know you, but I presume that you have a, you know, good relationship with them, that you've been there for a while. They're a big enough company that it's not like you're going to be a threat to them. And the reality is that large companies, whether they know it or not, should be embracing a strategy of building an organic bench of vendors. And it doesn't get any more organic than taking somebody who used to work for them, who already knows all of their internal processes and politics and the people, and helping that person grow a company. The benefits are, you know, priceless.
Huh. Yeah, because I even had a talk with my manager like 2-3 weeks ago. I was just saying that like I was getting bored of work.
Yeah.
I've been for 3 years. I think things have been, you know, have been good, but I'm like, I feel like I'm just not growing. It's the same thing like what you were saying, right? Like I feel like I'm not growing
right
anymore.
Yeah. No, 100%. It happens. So if I were you, and that is something that you would consider, like one of the things that I would do to like this week is, you know, go figure out who's in your procurement, legal contracts department, and figure out who, like your partner. I don't know if you guys have like a channel partner model, or who deals with your vendors and like the quotas or policy around, you know, how many small businesses they try to contract with as vendors every year, and get to know that process and the people who are in charge of that and what they're actually looking for. Like, you know, a lot of times, you know, companies will have a specific demographic that they are, like if they have a policy that they want to have 10% of all, you know, dollars that they're spending on vendors be given to, you know, in the commercial market is usually referred to as MIBI-WIBI, right, which is minority business enterprise, women business enterprise. They usually have a target that they want to meet every year. Right. And and within that target, then it's broken down into subcategories like veterans, you know, women, minority, disabled, whatever. They'll be able to tell you where they're not meeting a specific goal, and they'll also be able to tell you like what certifications you need to get from a small business perspective to be able to work with them, or for them to be able to count you. And so those are things that, you know, you could literally, this is December, go file your paperwork to be an LLC or corporation, get your tax ID number, have all that paperwork, you know, done by the end of December, and then, you know, start working on the structure and what you're going to sell, and, you know, getting a website up and all of that, but then also going and applying for some of these small business certifications if that's the route you're going to take, and they'll be able to give you the information to speed that up, right? So you're not guessing. They can literally like give you a checklist. And, you know, if you're going to go this route, like they're going to be your best friend.
Right. So for you, when you started, so like, what kind of development were you doing? Like, were you doing like software development? Like, or is it like native applications that you were doing? Like, what was your skill set in the past? When I was working for companies? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. My skill, I was actually in the procurement and contracts department. So I ran those departments for other companies. So we processed all the contracts. We read through the solicitations or requests for proposals, either from the government or from, you know, commercial companies or state and local, and helped with the responses. We, you know, gave business advice to make sure that, you know, whatever new logo or new work under an existing logo was coming in was compliant, and that we could actually deliver what we said we were going to. We worked on the, you know, So that's all on the pre-award side. Then on the post-award side, making sure we're actually like doing reporting on time and our deliverables are, met. So yeah, my technical background is that of being a support mechanism for the actual technical folks and the sales people, right? I'm not an engineer developer. I understand enough to get around and to sell things. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we have kind of shifted Forward Think into a technology company is simply because all of the companies that I worked for when I was doing, procurement and contract management were IT companies or IT security companies.
I see.
So it's like my whole network is like technical folks, right? Or contract folks. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So in the beginning, you were so in the beginning, the service you were providing was like project management and procurement to other companies.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Consulting. And we still do it. But it's definitely the minority part of the business, right? The majority is the technology services and support.
Right. So initially it was the project management and procurement, and then you're saying that over time you transitioned more into technology.
Correct. So for the first couple of years, we were helping other companies, big and small, get into the federal government, helping them, with their contracts and compliance, procurement issues, strategy. And I quickly, within a year was like, okay, I can't continue to do this and be 100% or 200% billable and be able to build a company. So I don't know that I want to build a company that just does this. But at the time, I also didn't want to build a technology company. So where I landed on was training and coaching. So we started offering, about a year and a half in, we started offering training and coaching around project management, Lean Six Sigma, Agile development, and ITIL. And then we added in acquisitions and contract management because that was, obviously part of my skill set. And we did, fairly well from that. And then we started doing like some technical writing, and then we were given a couple of like development engineer positions on a contract as part of the training that we were doing. Mm-hmm. And I just had to stop resisting because this is the way, this is the way that it was unfolding from the universe. It's just that's what it was going to be. And so once I stopped resisting, which has only been in like the last 2 years, so we're an 8-year-old company, only in the last 2 years have I really like 100% just accepted that this is what's happening. And so, the cool thing is I get to work with my friends and, people who I've known for a long time who've been in that field who are technologists and help enable them to kind of get their messages out there and their disruptive offerings and that we were creating, right? So we are literally getting ready to launch this month a subscription service for DevOps. Where a company would hire us and buy a capacity block of time for a team to help with the development of their apps as well as the operational piece. And so like our people would never be on site at the client. We would, have a kickoff meeting. They would give us the work, figure out what work they want to, give us out of their backlog. And then we would start working on that and then maintain it. And so we're really excited about it because we've seen, the opposite of that, just hiring consultants or staff augurs to come and sit in your office as a client and things still not getting done the way that they, need to, because even if we have the right methodology and mindset, if the culture in the company is not there or at the client site, it's still, it erodes the efficiency. And so this is our way to get around that.
That's fascinating. So you basically transitioned several times since you started this company.
Because this is my biggest thing, Khon, to my teenagers. Okay, so it's in my opinion, it's ludicrous to think that you at 18 years old going into college is going to know what you want to be for the rest of your life, right? That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
But it's equally as ludicrous to think that because you've done something from 20 to 40, that's what you have to do for the rest of your life. No, you could try something. You could decide you don't like it. It might take you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years to decide that because of multiple factors. The money was good. You liked the culture. You got sucked in. You were learning, whatever. And then you finally find something that makes your heart sing and you're like, yes, I want to do this. Right. And for me, you know, what I tell people a lot of times is, you know, the majority of people that are starting companies are a subject matter expert in a certain subject, right? Mm-hmm. Technology, jewelry making, you know, printing, design, whatever, right? So they know that is the thing that they want to do, right? And obviously it can evolve into, you know, what kinds of things they're building, but in the main, it's always going to be around technology, jewelry making, you know, design. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm just a really good business person.
Right.
Who has really good ideas and can see strategy, you know, 100 paces out from the average person. Mm-hmm. And so I can enable a lot of things, and I'm not pigeonholed by, oh, I only know this, where, you know, that can be great for some people who are singularly focused. It's a wonderful thing. For those kind of people, that isn't me, right? I'm never going to be singularly focused. And, you know, it's a gift and a curse, because obviously it could be a distraction if you're having like 100 really good ideas a day, you mm-hmm. can't work on all of them. So I've had to learn to just put a lot of them in a parking lot and come back and look at them later and only, you know, pick 2 or 3 things to work on a year. But I absolutely have to have an outlet to be able to work on more than one thing at a time. Otherwise, I would go crazy. But that's not everybody.
Right. Huh.
And so, you know, Khon, I would say to you, that question you just asked, I think it's beholden to everybody. Like, if this is what you really want to do, just start.
Right.
You'll figure it out and you'll test the market, right? That's what this whole, like, you know, the whole DevOps thing is about. Test and, you know, constantly iterate, continuous improvement, continuous integration. You will test, you will fail, you will adjust, you will test some more until you die.
Right.
And why doesn't that apply to everything we do?
I agree.
Wouldn't it make it so much simpler and take so much pressure off of everybody if that was kind of the outlook that everybody had in life?
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. Okay, so this is so silly. It's just because. So for some reason, I didn't expect that. I just thought like, oh, you started your company and, you know, like whatever you were doing now, and I thought that was from the beginning. I didn't realize.
Nope.
You did all these transitions to find to where she is now. I was like, oh, that's
yep.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked like what you were doing, like what your technical background, what I thought your technical background was, because I was thinking, I'm like, why did she choose to build like a service company versus building a product? Because I had assumed that, you know, you had a technical background, so I was thinking, why didn't she just build like a technical product?
Yeah.
Because then, like, that's kind of like in the position where I'm in now. Because I'm like deciding, I'm thinking, should I build a product or should I build like a service? Like kind of what you're doing. Yeah, so I feel like I'm kind of stuck there. So, but I think like hearing your story about how like you transitioned, like you found your multiple transitions.
Yep.
I feel like maybe me making a decision might not be that bad. Like, I'll try it, see what happens. If it fails, then I can transition to something else.
Right.
Huh.
So Khon, here are my thoughts on a product.
Sure.
You could work on a product on your own time and still work, right? Mm-hmm. And then when it's ready, you launch it, you see how it happens. Right. If it starts taking off, you quit, right? That's one thing. For me, you need to, there are absolutely companies who are hyper focused on products, and then others who are hyper focused on services. I think you need to relieve the financial pressure, I think you need to have both. So if you want to be a product company, that's great. But if you can get, 5 or 10 billable resources who are billing for 3 to 5 years at a time, where you don't have to go out and find more work for them, and you are just, you've placed them, you're managing them, but it's a light effort compared to the product development, that pays the bills while you're building your product and testing the market.
That's a very good point. I haven't thought about that. Because I'm because for the past few months, I've been building this reading application for kids.
Oh my God, what?
Yeah.
That's like my life's dream, right?
No way.
So where did I? Oh yeah, we're getting ready to start pushing out a bunch of content. You'll hear it in one of the first real meeting that I had with Gary. I tell him, I don't want to be doing this forever. Literally, I got about 3 more years in me, and then I'm handing it over to somebody else to run. What I really want to do is build an app for struggling readers.
No way. What?
100%. I'm going to send you the clip.
You won't believe this. Okay, so I live in LA, and I volunteer in a place called it's like Watts. It's like near. Have you heard of Compton area? Yeah.
No, my mom's from LA.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, so I volunteer. I volunteer in Watts, and so then for a year or two, I told the kids, any books you want to read, tell me. I'll buy a book, because I want them to have exposure to different material. So then, so then for a while, I'll buy them books, and then I think in the beginning of this year, I was sitting with the kids, and we were just reading Cinderella or something. It was it should be a fairly easy book. So then I sat with them, and then I had several kids with us. It was 8-year-old to 12, 13. And I was so shocked that they couldn't say some of the basic words like table or dress. They couldn't say it. But when I speak to them, they know the words, they know it fine. But just somehow when they see the word, they couldn't say it.
Yeah.
So then I went home and I reached out to all my friends. I was Googling and going on Amazon to find some kind of reading product that I could buy and then donate it to the center. But then everything I saw, it required a parent or a tutor or someone to sit with a kid to go over it. But I'm if you're living in Watts, your parents are either working too many hours or they might not be able to read. And we don't have enough tutors at the center to actually, help all the kids.
Right.
So then, after a few days of searching for products and I couldn't find any, I was man, what do I do? And then out of nowhere, I was oh, I'm a developer. Why don't I build something that could help kids learn how to read? So then I built this application where it would show the kids the word, and then the kids would, if they say it correctly, it'll move on. If they don't say it correctly, it'll stay. And then I kind of built that system around the way Kumon works. Have you heard of Kumon?
Yeah. Yep.
So where they have to master, a set of material before they can go on to the next set.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, I built that, and then so now I'm in this dilemma. I'm so I built it, and I actually spoke with the school in Compton to their vice principal, and they're gonna have their reading specialist teacher start using it. And then I'm gonna meet with have you heard of KIP Academy?
Of what academy?
KIP.
KIP?
KIP. AIPP.
No, I've heard of Khan Academy.
Yeah, there's that one too. So there's a charter school called the KIP Academy, and then so then my CEO of Edmonds, so I asked him for a referral, and he connected me to the CTO of KIP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll be meeting with them this month, and then just to see like they want to test it out and so forth. Yeah, so like right now, like I'm in this dilemma. I'm like, because I'm like I feel like the education field or the education field is hard to make money in, just because a lot of funding is controlled by the districts and so forth. So I'm like, man, like I believe in the cause, but I'm like, but I probably wouldn't be able to quit my job to do that.
Right.
So I'm like, man, I'm like, do I go to outside investors and find funding, or do I, you know, do what you're saying and build like a service first, and then do that on the side. Yeah, I think I just haven't quite figured out how to approach it yet.
So I would love to talk to you more about this, and that when I'm in LA again, which will either be this month or next month, to get a demo. Yeah. So my husband is doing his PhD right now in special ed leadership, with a concentration on reading and writing. Cool. So yeah, this is something we both, and he is very well connected with just like university. So like if you can get a university to, or like one of the reading gurus nationally or internationally known to endorse it. And then also there's tons of grant money out there, right? From Department of Education, from state, local, and federal, who are looking for ways, obviously, to be able to get a broader audience. I want to see what you're doing, and then I want to talk to you about what I want to do, and like it may be you have an app, and then you help me build one. That one of the things I am looking at is like scenario based, like almost like animation, and games. But I haven't been able, and like this has been on my my parking lot list for like 10 years. And I just, haven't had the capacity, but I would love to help you get yours out there, because this is my like dream, right? Like we have to figure out how to teach these kids how to read, and they can't rely on their parents and the school to do it. And so my husband can give, like he's working right now at a nonprofit whose mission is to get homeless youth off the street. So they work with kids from like 12 years old to like 22 or 24. And they provide education, housing, food, workforce development, job placement, that kind of stuff. But obviously, as you know, like if they don't correct it, by the time they get out of elementary school, it's done. And so then they become the adults who can't read, right? And so the literacy rate, especially in the inner cities, amongst adults is very high. Like, I don't think anybody would think that it is in the U.S. The numbers are pretty staggering. So, I'd love to help you however I can. And I know he would too. And he'd probably be a good resource for you to talk to specifically for the app. And then I think what I would ask you to think about is like, if you were going to do some services, what would you do? And then if you were going to build another product, what would it be? And let's schedule another call, between now and Christmas and flush that out. And then, we can see how I could help you kind of stand that up. But I definitely think, like I'm saying, like if you had some services where you're selling other people's time, then you're not worried about whether the app is bringing in money right now. You could continue to work on that as your passion project. And obviously it will bring in money, but it may take a minute, right? But I don't think it'll take as long as you think it will. But, there are several, and also Khon, like the other thing I've been thinking about is like autism and like just like learning disabilities like dyslexia, dysgraphia, where, kids see numbers backwards, not just letters. Building in something like that. There are so many of the, entrepreneurs and celebrities who have been suffering with that building something would be easy to get them to endorse if it really worked, right? Which obviously we'd want it to work.
Of course.
And then you change the landscape of education, which is like, I'm a huge proponent of. So.
Yeah, because I've been thinking so much about education. I'm like, with tech going the way it is, like with machine learning, AI, and so forth, I'm like, we could apply so much of that towards education and like relieve the pressure on like teachers and so forth.
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. So I would just ask you to think about kind of like, again, what services you would offer. And then, if you were going to build a product just to make money, what would it be? And you may come back and say nothing. Like, this is what I want to focus on from a product perspective. Right. And from services, here's what I would want to, and like how you could leverage, your current employer. Think about that. And then just let Katrina know when you're available, maybe the week of the 17th. We can get another call scheduled.
Cool. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
All right, Khon, I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rabiah. I really appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.